Hello, my name is Adrian, and I am introducing the very first lesson related to the GCSE AQA language papers 1 and 2 syllabus for students between year 9 and year 10. And today's um, lesson is just about language paper 1. So it's actually looking at what the emphasis of language paper 1 is today, but we'll move on to all the questions and everything else over a period of time with these individual videos that I'm now putting together. So the first thing I'm going to do is to share up the screen of a paper that we need to look at. So when we talk and look at AQA GCSE English Language Paper 1, the first thing we need to look at, to be fair, is this: explorations in creative reading and writing. You see, we need to define what these words mean. And exploration, if you ask yourself and find a definition, after a bit of thinking, you'll probably come up with the word discover. It's discovering new things. So in this case, it's discovering creative reading. It's finding out how we read creatively. Now, a lot of people know what creative writing is, but not creative reading. So what is it? So creative reading is the ability to read a text really well, to understand it really well, and then to make inferences and suggestions about what the writer is trying to achieve in the text. And then the second and last part, the third part, creative writing, is about creating something from your own ideas, but often based on real life situations. A lot of people, again, feel that creative reading is creating something completely new. It's not. Most creative writing with most writers is based on their own experiences, and they've changed their experiences into a story. Right, so one of the things I would teach you as well about each paper, that this paper is 1 hour 45 minutes in duration. Now, when you're looking at time management in exams, I feel it's important to use just one unit. So I would normally convert that to 105 minutes. Once you start looking at there's 105 minutes for this particular paper, then when you scan the papers at the start of the exam, you would take 2 minutes. So that means you've got 103 minutes left in your exam. Now with AQA Language Paper 1 and Language Paper 2, the maximum mark for each paper is 80 marks. And that's important to know. And that's a simple understanding of it. And there are 40 marks in section A and 40 marks in section B. So it's split between those 2 marks in section A and section B. What a lot of students will understand pretty quickly is that in section A, there are four questions that you have to answer. And in section B, there's only 1. You have a choice of 2 of 1 question. So you have 1 question. So that's 50% of the marks is in section B. Another thing that a lot of students don't or are never taught are these 2 things here. So in section A, you'll be assessed on the quality of your reading. Now that's really important. That means a lot of students have this idea that when they're reading a source, they kind of rush it. They think they're wasting time by reading. But in fact, the contrary is more important. It's very important for you to spend quality time reading and understanding the text. If not, it's a false economy. You're going to waste time in the exam and you are going to start losing time. And a lot of students don't do as well in their exams because they sometimes run out of time. So also we need to know that the 1 question in section A is the one about writing. And it says you will be assessed on the quality of your writing in section B. So that means when you write in section B, that's where SPAG kicks in. If you write some quality descriptive writing or a part of a story and you start making lots of spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes, not putting capital letters, you're going to miss out on a good mark. So this is when your technical writing skills have to be important as well. That's not so in section A. So if you make a few spelling mistakes in section A, as long as you are on the right road of understanding what the question is saying, then that's pretty important too. Okay, so I'm going to come out of that now and come back on here. So look, that was the cover page of AQA, and it's very important to realize that the cover page is the emphasis that the examiners want you to understand. Now, here's something quite interesting. All the questions, which I'm not going to show today because they'll come in the first, what I call the official lessons, like lesson 1, lesson 2. But the most important thing to know about the questions in language paper 1 and paper 2, that the format of the questions never changes. I will just briefly tell you what the format is without going into the questions on that particular paper. So question 1 is a 4-mark question, and all you have to do is list 4 things that the examiner is asking you to find in the beginning of the text. And it's literally list. It's not writing a sentence. It's literally listing like a shopping list. Question 2 is the language question. It will say something like, how does the writer use language to describe? And then that's an 8 marker. And you would look at that and you would probably look for some references in a said portion of text which will be given to you in the exam, where you find language features, you find words and phrases and sentence forms. And that is question 2, worth 8 marks. The question 3 is a structure question, and it's something like, how does the writer use structure to interest you as a reader? And that's a very generic term, but you have to look at the whole source for that, and you only get 8 marks. So you would not more than likely look at the beginning, and then as it progresses, you would look at how the writer shifts focus and stuff like that. But that's an 8 marker. Then question 4, the last question in section A, which is worth 20 marks and 25% of the overall marks of the paper, is a question that always uses a statement from a student. The student says, and the idea is for the students to evaluate whether they agree. It says, to what extent do you agree with the statement? That actual to what extent is a clue in the way you go about it. And then finally, and last but not least, is the question 5. And the question 5 is, you've got a choice. You'll get a stimulus picture, and you can look at that, and that's one option. So it says, how write a description as suggested by this picture. And it might be of a marketplace, it might be of a stormy scene or whatever. And then the second element of question 5 is about the beginning of a story. Write the opening of a story or write a short story, and it has a title. And that is basically it. So this is the beginning of learning the AQA GCSE language syllabus. I will also do a similar introduction for language paper 2, and then over time lessons will evolve all the way through the syllabus, etc. Now, one of the things that's really important, all the lessons are going to be based on one of my revision guides, workbooks that I've developed called Adrian's Revision Secrets 1 and 2. So this is something that you will need to get hold of in order to learn, self-learn all about the syllabus. Again, this is for year 9s, 10s and 11s if they cannot afford one-to-one tuition or group sessions. The recording session is the lower cost option. and it gives you a chance. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. Please get in touch with me if you have any questions.